Hello,
Hi.
Caitlin.
Hi, Callie. How are you?
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Squirks. Blah, blah, blah.
Good start.
Welcome to Scream Girls. This is a podcast where we talk about scary movies. We tell you if you should watch them.
Something really weird happened today.
What happened?
It's not that weird, but it's weird. I was watching what I thought was a movie trailer for Tremors.
Be Rich?
It's for like, I'm so confused about what it is. So I thought it was a movie trailer for like a reboot, or not a reboot, but like a new movie coming out, Tremors. Kevin Bacon's in the trailer. I love Kevin Bacon looking foxy.
Your sexual awakening.
Ever since I was 6 years old, I loved that Kevin Bacon. And he looked so cute in it. But anyway, it's this great trailer, and I was so excited, and I immediately was like, oh my God, I'm going to see this movie. Movie Pass, get ready. And in the end of the trailer, it's the music from It Follows.
What?
The music from It Follows. The music that last week I was like, I love the music from It Follows. That like weird synth chasing music. The like,
yeah, no, I know. But
is like in
why?
the last 45 seconds. That's the music they used in the
movie?
Tremors trailer.
It is Tremors.
Yeah, it's Tremors. But the thing that's weird about the trailer is then my brother posted it to my Facebook page, and it looks like it's maybe not a movie, but it was going to be a TV reboot that then it got canceled.
Oh.
TBD on what Tremors is, but the point is freaking used I think it's called Disaster Piece is the artist.
So was that maybe wasn't specifically written for It Follows then? Maybe?
Everything I know is untrue.
Well, maybe it's stock music.
Stock! Oh my God, if that's stock, we're redoing our theme song right now. No, I don't think so, because I read an article about It Follows music, that it's this guy, this artist, Disaster Piece, and he had scored the movie with like temp music, and then they were like really crunched for time, and he rewrote it, or he freaking stole it from Tremors or something.
Well, no, because Tremors, It Follows has been out for a long time, unless it's from the original Tremors. I don't know.
Tommy Lee Jones, we will find out.
I think this means we have to watch Tremors, probably.
I love Tremors.
I've never seen it. I feel bad because Callie has seen all of these movies, and I'm like coming to them for the first time. Poor Callie just has to rewatch all these friggin' movies.
Is Tremors a horror movie?
I don't know, because I have not seen it. It's a creature feature.
I would say it's a adventure. God, what would I classify it as?
Predator is a horror movie?
I've never seen Predator.
Oh, maybe we'll watch Predator.
Alien is not to me.
I disagree. We have to have a poll about this at some point, because I think Alien is one of the scariest movies that exist.
But does that mean it's a horror movie?
I think it is. I think it's a genre crossover, but I think it definitely is.
Because to me, Alien is pure sci-fi.
No,
and like Predator might fall into that too.
There's a creature lurking in the shadows, picking people off one by one. It's very, structurally, it's very much a horror movie, I think.
Okay, to give myself a point, I've only ever seen Tremors on TV on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Okay, well, I have no opinion on Tremors. So
I'm going to say Tremors is sci-fi, but I would love to watch it with you one day. All right. It is garbage, but it's really fun.
About whether we should watch it for this podcast.
Reba McEntire's in it.
Did you ever see the concert version of South Pacific starring Reba McEntire and Brian Stokes Mitchell? I think she's actually a great
know what
Ellie.
I'm doing tonight.
It's pretty good. Alec Baldwin also makes an appearance.
I mean, I like Reba, and I like her in the KFC commercials.
She's very funny. She's very chipper.
She's like Lucille Ball.
Yeah, like a country western.
Yeah,
Lucy. I think probably has more of a sense of humor than the real Lucille Ball. Who? No, not like. She was obviously a very funny performer, but I always heard that she was not that funny of a human. Like, if you were to interact with her. Yeah, she was, pretty serious and focused as a human. But I don't know. I didn't know her.
Whoa. What's Carol Burnett like?
I hope she's funny. She's on that new, Kids Say the Darndest Things reboot. Or whatever it is. I think it's not called that because it's tainted forever by Bill Cosby. But
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Woof. We'll find out. We'll find out all of this. Yeah, we'll give you an update about Tremors and
information.
But anyway.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's new. That's exciting.
That's a thing that happened today.
I'm trying to think if anything cool has happened to me lately of interest. I'm going to Denver next week. Very excited.
What's in Denver?
One of my besties. Shout out to Jess. Ooh. She's gonna, a loyal listener. She's gonna host me. We're gonna have fun. Nice. I'm gonna try to convince myself not to uproot my life and move there and
Caitlin,
weed farm or something.
Do I need to come with you and like
maybe
control that?
Last time I went, I literally for like months
How
after.
will we do the podcast?
Skype exists. No, I'm not.
Guys,
moving.
tell Caitlin not to go to Denver.
I'm not gonna.
Write in, tell us what Tremors is, and tell Caitlin not to go to Denver.
Yeah.
Are you gonna like go mountain climbing?
Hell no. We're gonna go to a hot spring. Look, if the ritual taught me anything, is that I'm not in this fucking movie. I'm not going to be adventuring. This movie, by the way, that's a good segue.
You're not going spelunking?
I'm not going spelunking. We watched this week a movie about spelunking. I would never have thought of the word spelunking as something that would strike terror into my heart, but thanks to this movie, The Descent, it now does.
The Descent.
The Descent, which I was very excited to watch.
So good.
And I'm very excited to talk about our first all-female cast. Still written and directed by a dude. We still need to find a good flick that's written and directed by a lady.
Yeah.
That's a goal of mine in the coming weeks here. But an all-lady cast about a group of women who go into a cave, and it proves to be a bad decision, which I could have predicted for them.
Not great.
Even if I hadn't known I was watching a horror movie.
Yeah, do not descend.
Do you want to get into this movie?
Let's talk about it.
Just spelunk right in.
I love that it's this all-female cast, and it always reminds me of, but, you know, obviously we were never caving and then just, you know, eaten by creatures or whatever, but my girlfriends from study abroad, you know, tight group of 6, and we've been on all these adventures together, just traveling through Europe, and over the years we always reconvene and go traveling together, and I don't know, it just reminds me of that. Sometimes you just have these groups of friends, and what you do is travel together or adventure together, and, you know, this group of friends in this movie is like the adventure friends.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to hear you say that, because I actually thought, seeing this, that 6 was too many. It was too large of a group. I didn't feel that I was able to get invested in their relationships as much.
Interesting.
And also I just was having a hard time keeping track of.
Oh, I see. I loved it.
Who. That's interesting to hear. I think I could have been okay with 5.
I probably could have done without Holly.
Oh,
Holly
yeah.
was like the outskirts friend.
Well, I thought she was going to have more to do. She came in as sort of the wild card, and I thought she was going to play more of an important role, and we lost Holly pretty quick.
Yeah.
I could have done without one of the sisters, because there are 2 sisters who I think we could have collapsed them into one, or made one of them the sister of one of the more prominent characters or something, if we needed that sibling relation.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's interesting to hear you say that, because you had that group of 6 tight friends. I mean, I was happy to see 6 ladies in a movie together, don't get me wrong, but just it was harder for me to get as invested in everybody as I wanted to be, and it took me a long time to figure out who everybody was.
I hear that. I think it just, you know, it reminds me of, in my group, it's like everyone has different dynamics, and everyone has their different friendships independent of the group, sort of like it's like how we each know and relate to the other, and then we always all come together as a group. So I don't know, that's like a personal thing that I bring to the movie, where I'm like, oh, girlfriends.
I think it's very relatable in the sense of like not seeing your friends, and also we'll get into it, but like when something bad happens to a friend that lives far away, or they're going through shit or whatever, and you feel like maybe you haven't been the best of friends, and then you see them again, like that's, and there's like guilt attached to that, and so let's dive in. This movie's from 2005, written and directed by Neil Marshall, who also directed a lot of episodes of Lost in Space. I looked it up. Experimental Space Family. Yeah, which you and Simon have been watching.
Delightful.
Yeah.
You'd never seen The Descent.
I have never
this was
seen
first
The Descent.
viewing. Okay.
Yeah. You know, as I've said before, my like love for horror movies has always been sort of latent, but my courage in terms of watching them is a fairly recent development. So I'm catching up on a lot of these movies.
Well, I'll just tell you, I've seen this movie before, because my brother called me one day. This must have been in like 2006, and said, I just watched the scariest movie I've ever seen. It's called The Descent, and you have to watch it immediately.
Oh my God.
And I went out and I rented the DVD from Blockbuster, and I bought the DVD because like I went back and like bought it because I loved it so much.
I mean, I'll get into it, but I can see why that happened. It's actually funny you say that, because my sister, this was like 2 years ago maybe, she texted me, have you ever watched The Descent? I'm watching it right now. It's so good. I was like, oh no, I haven't seen it. And she was periodically just texting me throughout this movie, I think, to distract herself from her fear. And finally she was like, I had to turn it off. I was too scared. And my sister loves scary movies. It's not, you know, she's not like a novice at horror movies, but it was too intense for her. So, and to this day, I texted her while I was watching it, and she has not seen the end of it.
Wow.
So.
Okay, should we get into the cold
Let's
open?
Do it. Yeah. So what's happening?
Always a cold open.
Well, you gotta have a good hold, especially in a horror movie. You gotta get hooked.
Gotta get hooked.
So what happens in this cold open? What are they doing?
So we see 3 women whitewater rafting.
Immediately cannot relate.
No. Never.
Never in my life would I do such a thing.
Did make me think of The River Wild, which
me too.
We both love.
I knew you were thinking about that. I was
like, father and daughter watching from the shore.
And I said, oh no, because I hear mommy, and I said, don't bring a child into this situation, whatever it is.
Too late. I noted right away, and maybe, obviously, this is because I've seen the movie before, Juno is wearing a different outfit than the other two.
Oh, I didn't notice that because I didn't know that I should be caring about Juno.
So they're in, like, blue, and she's in a red thing. And part of me was thinking, is she a guide? Like, is she a whitewater rafting adventure guide? Or is it just to set her apart? So the women are whitewater rafting. It's lots of fun. They get out, whatever.
Very dangerous, but...
We see Sarah. She's our leading lady.
Yeah, our POV character.
And it is her husband and her daughter who have been watching from the shore. And we see her husband... And did you catch on to this? Undoing Juno's helmet.
I didn't notice that. I did notice him being, like, kind of weird with her.
I literally wrote down... Paul undoing Juno's helmet, naughty. Did Kaitlin pick up on something right away?
I didn't pick up on that, no. But later I did. But I again, this goes back to there were so many of these women that it took me a while to figure out who was who. But.
So then they all leave and they're driving in the car. And Sarah turns around. She's talking to her sweet daughter about her birthday party. And
her husband's being really distant. She's like, what's the matter? Why are you being weird? Wow.
Oh my God. And then he rear ends a truck with metal rods on it, and the metal rods go flying off the truck and pierce him and the little girl.
Yeah, they both get impaled. Impalement in car accidents is a big thing in scary movies.
Yeah,
I also was like, oh no, like the driving, I was like, I know. And I knew something was going to happen because when we talked about The Ritual, you told me that the opening reminded you of this movie. The opening of The Ritual, the death of a main character in like an innocuous situation happens. So
that then sets the like emotional tone for what's coming.
Oh no! And I knew something was happening, and then it did.
And I noticed a new detail this go round, which was when they sort of pan out from the car. There's blood coming out from the back of the car.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, so like the little girl has died as well.
Yeah.
And Sarah wakes up in the hospital.
And she has kind of a weird hallucination in the hospital where she sees her daughter with a birthday cake and candles, which is important, and we'll come back later. And then she starts running.
Also, it looks like the Happy Death Day birthday cake.
It does. It does. Oh, my gosh. She's running down the hall, and she's intercepted by her good friend Beth, who tells her, Jessica, your daughter is gone.
Yeah.
And it's very sad and emotional. And Juno's crying. And it's like, you think at first that she's just like sad because she's a good friend, but... We'll get into it.
But it was also just so similar to The Ritual and A Quiet Place, where it's like from the beginning, this person, the POV character, has experienced a tremendous loss or, something traumatic, and then we're just going to follow them.
Right. It gives you an immediate reason to give a shit about this person.
It really does.
For sure. So we skip ahead a year. It's a year later, and we are now in... all these characters, by the way, except for Juno, is American. But the other characters are all Scottish, British in that world.
I know. I was like, Scottish? Welsh?
Yeah.
British?
Well, they talk about being in Scotland, but some of them have more like English accents. UK. Generic UK. And they are hanging out in the Appalachians, and they're going to this cabin, and they're going to go spelunking. And it's like the first trip they've had in a year. We get a sense that there's some tension with Juno, this one character, Juno, because Beth says Juno really left really quick after that funeral, and she's like pissed about it. Yeah. Sarah's kind of numb and not really like worried about it.
And I took note that it's only been a year. I mean, to have lost your husband and your child, and then even be going on a trip who knows? I have no idea what it's like to experience that kind of grief. And so it's not a judgment. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's only been a year. Like, it still must be extremely fresh.
Well, and you get the sense that she's not really ready to be doing it, but what else is she going to do?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I guess I'll just try to, like,
guess I'll be around my friends and like do the thing that we love doing.
Right. I mean, it seems like better than nothing. So they're hanging out in the Appalachians, making a lot of fun of American music and like doing a lot of bad Southern accents and stuff, which I thought was funny. And they end up at this cabin with Juno, and we meet the supporting characters.
Yes.
You know
of which there are a lot.
There are a lot.
I don't even think I know all of their names. I mean, there's Rebecca, who's a sister. I don't even remember the other sister's name. Sam. So there's Sam and Rebecca.
And Sam, we learn, is a medical student. She's about to be a doctor. And Rebecca, I don't really know what her deal is. She's just strong.
And then Holly.
Cool. Holly is Juno's protege.
Yes.
And she's very kind of wild. They're going spelunking tomorrow in these caverns that I cannot remember the name of.
Borum.
The Borum caverns. And Holly's turning up her nose at it. She's like, it's a tourist trap. It's going to be boring as fuck.
So there's basically like pairs. There's the sisters. There's Beth and Sarah, who are clearly the closest friends. Yeah. And then there's Juno and Holly. So
we don't really know where Holly is from. At first I was like, oh, is she dating Juno? But she's not.
But not.
They're just besties, I guess. Like
we just keep trying to like ship lesbians.
I know. Well, but I didn't know what you knew about Juno at the beginning of the movie.
So here's one thing. So if Sam is though in school to be a doctor, how old are they?
That's a great question. I mean, she could have been a nurse for a while and then gone to... Do you know what I mean? Like,
maybe they're like 30.
Right out.
I'm going to think they're 30.
I mean, I feel like the Sarah is probably in her early to mid-30s.
Yeah.
And everybody else is in that range.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know if I should tell you this now or later because it's not really... It's because I had seen the movie that I knew what happened with Juno. But so always after seeing this movie, I thought, why did they name her Juno, the writer? Because it's an unusual name and everyone else is like Sam, Rebecca, Holly, Sarah, Beth. Literally just typical white girl names.
Right.
So I was like, why Juno? And I looked up the origin of the name Juno. And in Roman mythology, Juno was a protectress of women and marriage.
Whoa.
I know. Isn't that crazy? I was like, that's pretty good.
That is good.
She was supposed to protect women and make sure that their marriages were successful.
Dramatic irony, y'all, because, well, we'll get into it later. But anyway, so they're having fun at as much fun as they can. One important detail that comes up later is that Sarah is reminded of something that her dead husband used to say, which is love every day.
Love each day.
Love each day. That's what it is. Yeah, so she's sad, whatever. And we see that she's taking pills. She's having a hard time, you know. Understandably, understandably. Yeah. But so the next day comes.
Well, okay, so overnight, Sarah has a dream.
Okay.
And I do feel like it's important because it goes back to sort of ambiguity that we've talked about in some movies before, where at first, you know, because when Sarah's in the hospital, at first she wakes up and it's almost like Walking Dead or 28 Days Later, like she's all alone. And she starts running through the hospital hallway and it's getting darker and it's sort of like this hallucination thing. And then that sort of carries through this like dream hallucination type thing with her. So when they're in the cabin, they go to sleep. She wakes up. She goes to look towards the window, and a metal rod shoots through the window.
Right, I forgot about that. That was my first good jump scare,
and really I knew it was coming, and I was bracing, and it still made me jump.
Yeah, it was tough.
So then she wakes up with like a start. So I just thought like it establishes early that dream sequences are her having those, what would you call them, sort of like not worldly moments.
They're worldly. Yeah. She's on the astral plane or something. But they go.
Well, then they wake up and Juno's fucking running through the woods, and I was like, Juno, chill the fuck out. Too much exercise. I know. She goes to her friends, and she's like, we're leaving at 7, which I was like, you've been up and running.
They're all hungover and stuff,
I know.
Too.
Hungover. Spelunking. It sounds like I don't even know what.
Well, we'll get into my feelings on spelunking. Okay, they get up, they're driving. This is important. They kind of
take the photo.
Sarah is they take a photo, like a cute
which
photo.
Again, I was like, I love photos of friends.
I was like, oh, don't take that photo. I was like, this is a before pic. Don't take the before pic.
I know, but I love photos like that. I don't know why this movie makes me feel kind like warm nostalgia.
Well, it's nice up. I mean, other than the child death, it's like nice up until a point, and then it gets dark.
Other than the child
but anyway, so they so they get in the car. Sarah's driving like a maniac. She's like having a good old time, and I was like, I would never get in a goddamn car again.
No, and Juno's driving like a crazy person too.
Yeah.
They're all reckless.
They're kind of getting lost. Like
Juno says, I've never been lost in my life.
Bad
Spoke
sign.
too soon, you bitch.
Yeah. So they get to this cave, and Juno has the guidebook in her hand, and then she's like, I don't need it. Throws it back in the dash. I was like, bitch, why? Take it with you. Well, we'll find out why in a minute.
We know why.
But
well, then they're walking towards the cave, and I wrote down Elizabeth, but I meant Rebecca, starts laying out sort of the rules of what's going to happen, which I thought was cool, where she's like, lots can happen to you when you're down there. Hallucinations, exaggerations, dehydrations.
Yeah, like all kinds of crazy bad shit that can happen.
When you're caving, you can experience all these kinds of crazy things.
Which begs the question, why the fuck would you do it?
Why? I literally would throw my body off a building without a parachute before I'd go down.
About halfway through this movie, I texted my best friend, shout out Rebecca, all the friends getting shout outs today, also a loyal listener. She's like very sportsy and outdoorsy. And I was like, have you ever been spelunking? She said 3 times she's been spelunking. And she said it's so much fun.
What?
And it's like with a big group. And she sent me a link to this place where like Mayans used to do human sacrifices. And she went spelunking there. Rebecca, please, I'm begging you as your friend, watch this fucking movie. And then reconsider your life choices.
I hate it. I've never been and I hate it.
I hate it. Well, this movie, I mean, I didn't even think of it as an option. And now it definitely is not.
Never.
But anyway, so they come upon this hole in the ground, and they're like, all right, let's just, like, get in.
And Beth says, I'm an English teacher, Juno, not a fucking Tomb Raider.
Which I loved. I loved Beth. She was probably my fave.
Yeah, for sure.
But so they, what's it called? Rappel? They rappel down.
Mm-hmm.
It's far. They're in this big cavern. There's bats. There's a fuck ton of bats. Which
they scared me too.
They scared me. Apparently, spelunkers are actually spreading mold that is deadly to the bats. It's like a big issue with spelunking. So the bats had more to be afraid of from the humans than the humans did of the bats.
I don't know if I care enough about bats.
It's all connected. It's the circle of life.
Yes. The tree in Pocahontas would have things to say about that.
Grandmother Willow.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me
She'd
how to
be
feel
like,
about the bats.
leave the bats.
Leave the bats. Stay out of a cave.
Yeah, stay out of the cave.
Child, don't go in the cave.
Go find a river.
Yeah, but not a whitewater rafting river. Just like
a lazy river.
Just relax next to the river.
Bring your raccoon. Raccoon. How do you say raccoon?
Raccoon.
And your hummingbird and float down a lazy river.
Okay, so they're in this
nightmarish place. They're in this hellhole. And Juno says there's only one way out of this cave, and it's down.
Already, I'm like,
no, Juno.
No. They end up in the, like, they go through the, whatever, a tube. They're in like a larger place, and then Sarah starts to get a little weird. She starts to hear like a child laughing. It's like creepy.
I mean, just the second they go into the place that has like no window, like no sunlight, like I was like, no, I'm done. I can't. This movie stressed me out really bad. I'll stop talking about that, but like
we'll get to parts later that are more so, but the entire experience of this movie is so claustrophobic.
It made me think of my friend who recently told me, shout out to Taryn, my friend, one of my Copenhagen girls. She told me that she went to Las Vegas recently with her husband, and she had a full-blown panic attack in a casino because she couldn't see any windows.
I don't blame her.
And I was like, I get it. And especially watching this movie, I was like, I need to see sunlight. Like, I need to see my exit. I'm like, it follows. I need at least 2 exits.
Yes.
And they've got none.
They're in this cavern prison. They stop for dinner or lunch or whatever. They're eating.
Yeah.
You've been in the cave for 1 second.
1 second. Why are they eating?
I don't know. But maybe
I get it. Like, stop for a snack. But like,
who knows how long the drive was? You know what I mean? It's been a bit.
Eat on the way.
I know. Why are you in the cave eating? But they're in the cave, and they have a moment where Juno basically comes to Sarah, and she's like, yo, I'm sorry that I failed so soon after the accident. Like, I wasn't a good friend to you, but I'm going to make up for it now. And Sarah's like, okay.
Yeah.
She's not really buying it.
She's also like, Juno, I won't break. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then she says, I asked you for this. So she asked Juno to set up an adventure, which does make me think that Juno must be an adventure guide of some sort.
Yeah. I mean, she's clearly the lead. And she yells at Holly at one point. She's like, we do this safely. We do it my way. I'm the leader, whatever. Well, we'll see where that gets them. Yeah. But anyway, so then Holly or somebody finds a tiny tunnel. Ugh. And she's like, I found the way to the next
I mean, it's pretty cool the way they find it with the lighter. Like, you hold a lighter to see if the flame flickers.
Right, so you know if there's any airflow, which is, I guess, the way you want to go. So she finds it, and she's like, there's some debate over whether it's correct, because they're like, this doesn't look like it looks in the guidebook. And Juno's like, whatever, it's fine. So they start climbing through this impossibly small, rocky fucking tunnel. This part of the movie was scary to me beyond anything I've ever seen. I was tightening. Like, I was feeling so claustrophobic. My shoulders were up around my ears. I have actually a recurring nightmare where I'm crawling through a tunnel that's getting smaller and smaller. Like, and I feel claustrophobic. This happens like,
what do you think it means?
Every few months. I don't know. I think maybe it means my covers are up over my face. But maybe there's a deeper reading.
You're like, I think it means I'm maybe like stressed out or feeling like my options are limited, or I'm suffocating under my own comforter.
I'm choosing to go with that because it's the easiest for me to deal with.
Yeah, that happens to me too. I woke up the other morning from a dream. In the dream, I was like, my arms are freezing, and I woke up and my arms were out of the blanket.
Or you hear
and I was
your
like,
alarm in the alarm, and you're like, what is that? Yeah. So
I mean, I did think that it's pretty remarkable that there are these enormous underground cave systems like beneath us.
Oh yeah.
Like, I get sinkholes now, I guess. Like, there are just like hollow parts of the earth. Yeah, I just never ever need to see them.
No. I mean, maybe if there's one that's really well regulated and like planned out and everything, maybe it's okay. But I still think I would feel really
because they'd be like, get in this hole, and I'd be like, I'm gonna be Winnie the Pooh, and you're gonna be pulling me on one end and pushing me on the other end.
I had to climb a tall ladder to get onto a roof today because I did a site visit for work.
How tall?
It wasn't that tall. No. But it was still taller than I would have liked, and I felt very brave for having done it. But I would never go through, like, that's a ladder. I mean, that's a man-made structure with some delineated steps. I would never go into a rock tunnel.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's so stress-inducing.
Yeah, it was not good. But so they go through, as they're going through the tunnel, they've all made it through except Sarah's the last one. And Sarah gets stuck. Oh my God.
And she starts panicking.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course she fucking does. And then her dear friend Beth turns around and goes
also,
back.
How does she turn around? I was like, how in the world did she turn around?
How are you going to get out of there again? Because it's a narrow fucking spot. But she turns back, and she really is a solid friend in this moment. And she talks her down, and
tells her
a
really
joke
about like a clitoris or something.
About like a lemon. I didn't really get the joke, but I think it was supposed to be a clit pun. Yeah, it was like, how do you make a lemon orgasm tickle its citrus? I was like, citrus only a little bit sounds like clitoris.
Oh,
but I figured it was supposed to be that.
I just heard tickle its clitoris.
If we're just not getting this joke. It's not a joke. It's just
a fact.
It's just a fact.
Yeah.
But anyway, she says she gets very real with her. And she's like, the worst thing that could ever happen to you has already happened to you. So, like, fuck this cave. Who cares about this cave?
Also, yes, I loved that part. But, man, these women speak too soon. Juno being like, I've never been lost in my life. And now Beth being like, the worst thing that could possibly ever happen to you, besides encountering a cave demon or whatever is down here, has already happened to you.
But she doesn't know that this is the cave that they're in. But it's also like that's just like a dark fucking thing to say to somebody.
Yeah, it is. Also, though, what happens to them is so unimaginable. But it didn't take me out of it, and it wasn't like suspend disbelief thing. It was like, I don't know, I liked that part. I was like, man, what happens to them is bananas. Yeah. Like, you never would have thought that would happen.
No, I did not know that was... I mean, I knew that there must be some kind of... Because the stupid Netflix thumbnail gave away what the creature looked like, and I was pissed. This Netflix thumbnail for me, because I know it's different for everybody, was Netflix, a creature.
We know you're listening. Take that down.
Also, the Netflix for Carol, when I watched Carol recently, is a picture of Cate Blanchett and her little girl. That's not what Carol's about.
Don't mislead people to think this is a film to be watching on Mother's Day.
I'm much more inclined to watch a movie with some hot ladies making out on the thumbnail than like a mother-daughter
Everyone
drama.
knows that's true, Caitlin.
Yeah. Oh my God, I have to talk to you about this book I'm reading right now. Sarah Waters, y'all.
Ooh.
Lots of Victorian lesbian action. But anyway, that's not where we're at. There's no lesbians in this movie that we know of.
Much to our disappointment.
So they're in this fucking tunnel, and then the tunnel starts to collapse.
Yeah, Indiana Jones.
But way scarier because it's like very real.
The
so
Goonies.
they get out, but they lose their rope bag. They have a bag full of equipment and shit. And then
Which
they're
also like shit is going wrong already.
And they're like, oh fuck, okay, well we got to get out of here. Like I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, like all right, Juno, where do we go? Like look in the book.
Right, and she's like, I don't have a book. And they're like, what do you mean you don't have the book?
I love Rebecca, too. She's like, what the fuck, Juno?
Yes.
I just like her,
appropriate response.
Yeah.
So they don't have the book. The reason she doesn't have the book, because we learned this is not Borum fucking Caverns. This is an uncharted system that Juno has coerced them all to go to. She's lied to them about it because she thought Borum Caverns would be boring. Yes. She wanted them to discover this cavern system together.
This is the most fucked up thing I've ever heard someone do to anyone else.
It's nuts.
Even if there were no bat-like creatures under here, human meat bat creatures.
Yeah.
She could have killed them just by not having a way out.
Easily. She's like, no way out but down. How do you fucking know, dude?
How do you know?
And she didn't tell anybody where they were going.
Nope.
Because if they had been going to Borum Caverns, there would have been like,
there's
like a system, right? Yeah. That if
after
they don't
48
check
hours,
in, they know that and they go in for them.
Like the River Wild.
She is clearly a very bad guide because she didn't do any of these safety precaution things, and also she has done this without these women's consent.
Also, why would you do that to your friend who's just gone through a trauma?
And she says later to her, she's like, I wanted us to maybe name it after you. And Sarah's like, or you.
Yeah.
Like, Sarah's not
So she's like a narcissist, basically.
Yeah, she's nuts. So this is horrible. We've learned that Juno is not to be trusted.
Not to harp on this too much, but like, what was her plan? What the fuck was the plan? Because even if they got through, or they had to turn around, like let's say that tunnel didn't collapse and they all had to turn around and go back to that hole.
Yeah.
There was no way out of the hole.
There was no way out of the hole. Well, she seems to think there's two ways out. Or no, that was when they thought it was
later. She has no idea how they're getting out.
I don't know. It's madness. It's straight up madness.
It's really crazy.
It's crazy. It's almost a flaw in the movie. It's so crazy. Because it's like,
so crazy.
It's like, really, you have to be evil to have done it. By the way, we left out an important thing. Maybe it's at this moment, actually. Beth is giving Juno some shit about Sarah and how this is not good for Sarah and whatever. And she gives Juno some shit for having left right after the accident. And Juno says, we all lost something in that crash. And I went, Juno fucked Paul.
You knew that?
Yeah, yes. Because I was like, that's such a crazy thing to say unless you have an actual connection. Like, yes, when something bad happens to people you love, it affects you. But, like, that's not some shit you're going to say.
You didn't lose something, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, she fucked Paul. Paul is the husband. Well.
She sure did.
Let's get into it. Okay, so then what happens after this? They find some cavern, and they have to go across this chasm.
Yep.
And Rebecca is the strongest one of them. Rebecca is the strongest one of all of them. And so I don't know, I guess this is how you spelunk. She's hanging by these crazy hooks that she, like, forces into the rock, really just pulling herself along sheer upper body strength.
I can't blow dry my hair for too long without my arms getting tired.
And she's breathing really hard. Like, this actress does a really good job of showing you how
they're so
difficult
strong.
This
like
would be.
The fact that she holds on with one arm, holding her full body weight with one goddamn arm, and then lifts up the other arm to put the thing is like, I can't hang from a monkey bar.
Never.
And oh my God, it's so crazy. And then the funniest part to me was she goes, more slack, thanks. And like, thanks? I would have been like,
the break. I would be screaming.
Yeah.
But she makes it across, and she finds
oh my God, I'm fucking Juno going, come on, Rebecca. Come on, Rebecca. She's like
trying to be the guy.
Yeah.
It's like, you forfeited the privilege.
Also, just
bitch.
like, she's going. You're not fucking helping.
Ugh. But anyway, she finds, as she's doing this, she finds a hook from a previous expedition, which Juno had previously said, this is the only, we're the first purple people here in this fucking cavern. So you know that there's been some people here before, and nothing good came of it.
By the way, what they're doing is like Ninja Warrior. What's
like
that
American
show called?
Ninja Warrior?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ninja Warrior Princess is what I wrote down, but I don't think that's what it's called.
Well, I mean, that's what it would be called if these women were in it, because they're all gorgeous also. But like
it's like impossible feats of strength.
Yeah. It's crazy. But she makes it across, and she sets up like a line for the rest of the girls to get across that they don't have to have as much strength and stuff. And they all get across, and it's fine. And then Juno's like, we don't have that much shit, so she has to go across the hard way.
And also like showing off.
Yeah,
you know, they're all like, Juno, what are you doing? And she's like, we don't have enough rope.
But she's not wrong though.
I know, but it was such like a blech.
I know, she sucks. But they go, she starts going across, she finds the other person's thing, and then she falls. And she's on the rope, and then Rebecca's hand gets really fucked up because of the rope, like moving
rope
really
burn,
fast.
But not even, it cuts her hand open. Yeah.
It was really gross. That was really hard.
It's like in Jaws, you know, that movie in Jaws, that moment when the leg gets caught in the rope.
Terrible.
Rope is dangerous.
Rope's really dangerous. You can get your head chopped off that way. And like wires and stuff. That movie Ghost Ship where everybody at the beginning gets like cut in half. You watch, everybody do yourself a favor and YouTube opening scene of Ghost Ship. And watch how dangerous. No, it's a movie. It's a bad horror movie. But it's like, just watch it and you'll see how dangerous Rope can be. It's very funny.
Okay. But anyway, I wrote down Juno is a bitch with lots of eyes because she's just fucking shit up left and right. Yeah. Like, now she fucked up Rebecca's hand.
I know, and Rebecca's the strongest one. So it's like, that's fucked. They need her. And now she is extra useless because of her hand. So anyway, but they get her up there. She's alive, and she's like, this is bad. This piece of equipment that I found is 100 years old. Like, nobody uses this shit anymore. And they're like, meh.
Also, like, Juno,
don't tell people that.
This is your fucking fault, dude.
I know, it's bad.
Yeah, and she's like, this is bad. As if, like, it's someone else's fault.
We know, bitch!
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
All of this is bad.
So they go into another room, and they see, like, cave drawings.
I know.
So they know people used to live in this. Well, I guess cave people. But they're looking at them, and then Juno says something that scared me. She was like, I know it's cool, but the lights are not gonna last. The batteries and the lights are not gonna last. We need to keep moving. And I was like, fuck. Because if your lights went out down there, you'd be done. There's nothing. Yeah. You would just have to wait to die of dehydration or to starve to death.
Starvation.
There's no way that you would. And then I was thinking, I'd be saving a flare because I would want to kill myself. I won't want to die of starvation down there.
You know the answer to every movie we've watched.
More
just kill
so
yourself.
With this movie. I don't know. I mean, I might try to make a go of it in like a zombie, but I know I say I would die. I would lay down and die. But I might try.
If a sex ghost
down in a cave, I'm trapped in a cave. There's no light. There's no way out. No. There's no. No. I don't want to do it. Nope. So that scared me. But anyway, they see from this cave drawing, it's like a diagram of the cave. So they see there's at least one exit. From the cave, which is cool.
And who figures that out? Beth.
Smart Beth. Beth is the emotional core of the group.
There's a second way out.
Yeah. So they keep going. What happens next?
Well, they get a first look at the creatures. I don't exactly remember, or Sarah does.
Sarah sees it. Something that looks like a human, and
but she's Sarah's not the most trustworthy point of view at the moment.
Because we already know she's been hearing children laughing.
Exactly. And stuff. But she sees a creature, and Juno's like, "No, you didn't, Sarah. You just see things down here." Or whatever.
Which is true. Because there's not a lot of oxygen down below. People do hallucinate.
But isn't the moment where she's like, no, I saw a man. It was a man. There's someone down here.
I have to say, I was legitimately relieved when the creatures showed up. Because previous to that point, I was so stressed out just by the circumstances of the movie. Like the real life circumstances of the movie. Yeah. That when a monster showed up, I was like, all right, now this is like a fantasy.
Oh my gosh, so funny. Because I sort of had, I love this movie, but this time watching, I was like, the same thing with The Ritual. I was like, basically, I'm having this thing where I like movies for like the first 3 quarters, and then I'm like, I want to rewrite this. I want to rewrite how this ended, and I want to like take this movie and I want to get rid of the creatures, and I want to keep The Descent, but I want to write a different movie where it has the exact same opening, the exact same thing. These friends, they go down a cave, one has lost a daughter, blah blah blah, and I just wanted to become fucking Lord of the Flies.
So you wanted this to be like an open water style horror movie. Where it's more just like them against the elements.
I like what The Descent is, but I just think it would be a really cool movie.
I think that would be really cool.
It was them against the elements and them against each other, because if it came out the affair and Sarah's not all there and she's got, we'll talk about it, but Sarah goes like from 0 to 60 into like primal survival kind of like animal mode. And so what if she had just done that without the you know what I mean?
Right. I think that would be a great movie and a very scary movie. Yeah. And not to say that not that I was disappointed from a quality point, literally just from my comfort level watching the movie. Right. I was like, thank God there's
something
a monster
to break up the tension. Yeah.
Okay, I can deal with a monster.
Yeah.
So she sees things. Oh, and then a bad thing happens. Holly, fucking dumb Holly, who previous to this point hadn't really done anything. I was like, why is she here?
Besides, be obnoxious.
She sees some light in the distance, and she's like, it's daylight, and she takes off really fast, and Juno's like, that's not daylight.
What was it?
It's phosphorus. Phosphorus gives off a glow, so it looks like daylight, but it's not. So Holly takes off and is really dangerous, and she falls. Oh my fucking God. She falls down a tunnel. She breaks the shit out of her leg. I literally, Callie, alone in my apartment, and I wasn't being funny, alone in my apartment, looked up, saw that bone sticking out of her leg, and went, oh fuck, out loud. I yelled, oh fuck, alone. It was so upsetting. It was so scary.
But I love that she also goes, I think I hurt my leg. And it's like there is a goddamn bone sticking out of it. Also, for some reason I wrote, Juno lets us down once again. But like,
with this dumb bitch.
Exactly. I just like blame everything on Juno.
She's very easy to do it too. But so then
well, I did not watch them put the bone back in. I fast forwarded.
I didn't watch it either. I mean, I just looked away, but because you screamed.
Oh no, I wrote down putting Holly's bone back in, too much for me. Stopped looking to take a Harry Potter quiz on BuzzFeed.
I was texting my sister. I was like, oh my God. And my friend Rebecca being like, please stop spelunking.
I stopped watching to see what percentage of Harry Potter house I am. Like, how much of each Harry Potter house I am. I think I'm like 70% Gryffindor. Really? I'm like, was that right? No, I'm 70% Hufflepuff or something like that. I'm like 20% Gryffindor, 8% Ravenclaw, and whatever's left Slytherin.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I could see that. Yeah. I think I'm probably in a similar camp. Probably more Ravenclaw than Gryffindor.
And by the time I looked up, I was like, oh, and the bone is back in.
I know. I just looked down. I was right. Like, I had my notes. I just looked away. Yeah. But Sam, who's our medical student, puts the bone back in, and it's all, good. But now they have to drag this bitch through all these tunnels and shit and climbing and across chasms and stuff. And I'm like, that's not going to work out. No. They're going to have to leave her. Well, it doesn't even matter because very shortly after this, we get our first real encounter with the creatures.
Yep.
The creatures look like a combo between Gollum and the Master from the first season of Buffy, the Vampire Slayer. He's like a bald, goblin-y looking vampire with pointy ears and pointy teeth.
I think they're effective.
Yeah.
I think they're really
good.
scary.
They look really good.
I think it's also because they do look like an evolved human of some sort. They look like an underground...
They have really creepy, blind, milky eyes and fucked up teeth, and they like hunch over.
There's like men and women. Did you notice this?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Ew, I didn't notice that. Yuck.
Yeah, so we'll talk about this one in a little bit, but there's female, male versions, and the women have like long hair, and it's gross.
Ooh, I didn't even
notice.
Breasts. Yeah. Wow, that's creepy. They're very tactile looking.
Do you like
animals.
that I said breasts? I got
as opposed to what?
I don't know. Earlier today, I was like, "Oh, I just knocked something off my desk with my titty," like at work. By the way,
well, these
Spocko,
monsters don't
listening.
have titties; they have breasts. Okay,
titties.
Come on.
All right. I just got very a formal all of a sudden.
No, but they do.
And they have
You're being anatomically correct. So wait, what was I going to say? The monsters. Oh, they're very tactile. They don't look. I mean, there's probably a degree of CGI with the monsters, but they look real, which makes them all the scarier, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is where the ritual really falls down, because that monster looks like a fucking hologram.
No, these had to have been people in costumes.
Yeah. So excellent work.
Ew, with like lube all over their bodies or something.
I'm sure. Like slimy slime. Yeah. Glistening. So I kind of looked away because I can't deal with the violence, but they end up fighting some creatures, and one of them like rips Holly's throat out basically. And do we see
her pupils contract? Is that what happens?
I think she's like still alive for a second and then dies. But I was like, well, that's probably for the best, honestly, because they can't carry this bitch around forever. But then Juno is stressed out. She's like, don't take her body. So she gets in a fight, which is
she tries to save her,
one of Juno's one sort of redeeming moments. She doesn't want them to take her
friends to die.
Right. And so she gets in a fight with the monsters, and she fights off a number of monsters, which is great. But then something comes up behind her, and she freaks out, and she turns.
This is later.
Okay, what happens next?
I mean, you're right. But before this happens, they all separate. They scamper. They go their separate directions.
And not Robin.
And Sarah and cracks her head on a rock.
And loses her headlamp.
And so she has a hallucination of her daughter.
Yeah. And she ends up in a cavern full of bones, which isn't so good.
Yeah, and so much blood. Is this where we see the pool of blood?
I didn't know if that was blood or if it was just like muddy water.
It was blood.
Blah! Okay, so yes. And so then there's
So you're right. Juno's fighting off a ton of creatures, and she's fought them all off, and she hears someone come up behind her, and she turns around and whacks her pick, and it goes through Beth's throat. Beth is who was standing behind her.
It's very The Strangers. It's very, very much like when...
oh my God, Kevin, or whatever his name was.
Dennis.
His
name wasn't really Dennis, but he plays Dennis on Always Sunny.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when Dennis gets shot in the face.
So bad.
It was really bad.
Beth, through the gurgling of blood in her throat, says, "Don't leave me." And it's like that little viral video of the little baby girl. Have you ever seen this? Her mom's going to work.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Don't leave me." Oh my God, I love it. But this isn't cute like that.
It's not cute, it's sad.
And she's like, "Don't leave me." And Juno fucking leaves her.
Which is like, wait, this is another moment of weird character inconsistency with Juno, because she just risked her life to save the body of her friend, and then she's gonna bail on
Well, I think she's just like, I just killed my friend by accident.
Yeah, that's true. She's like traumatized and she bails.
And also, like, what's she going to do? Beth is going to die. Right. So she's going to sit there and hold her hand as she bleeds out of the throat. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is what a good friend would do, I would argue.
Yes.
But she does not.
Oh.
She leaves.
And Beth, as she's falling to the ground, grabs Juno's necklace.
Right.
And falls, and it pulls off of Juno's neck, and she's holding it in her hand.
This is very important. Mm-hmm. So that happens. So then the sisters are off, running around, being scared, and then our girl Sarah the only thing she has to see by is she has this digital camera, so she's seeing, like, infrared a la Silence of the Lambs, and she realizes she's in a very bone-filled cavern.
Human, and I wrote down human skulls, which is, like, not a good sign.
Yeah, no, it's no good. No bueno. And then we're back with the sisters. The sisters are hiding from the monsters. And
okay, it seems that the monsters are sound hunters.
Just like in A Quiet Place. Yeah, they can't see. So the girls, the sisters are very quietly, like,
I thought that was very scary. And I this was the moment when I was like, these creatures are good. They're good. They're, you know.
The only thing I couldn't figure out was they can't. The hearing isn't that good because these girls are making a lot of noise.
They are.
Like,
I just have to think
around.
they're not like, I guess I explain it away or something by being like, they're not trained hunters, like killers. Like, these creatures are not trying to kill humans. They're just living. They're just they've evolved.
So it's like echolocation, I guess, like, or whatever. I don't know how exactly they do it.
I mean, it just seems like they're not that evolved or something. No. Like, they're not that good of hunters. They're just sort of like,
we do learn that they go up to the surface and hunt creatures. We've seen, actually, at the beginning of the movie, we saw a dead elk.
And so, to be honest, they're probably hunting dumb bum creatures and eating those. Like, humans are a little more evasive.
Fair enough. So they're hiding, and there's a creature walking by, and then fucking Sam's watch starts beeping. They've set this up earlier. I remember there's a scene earlier where she's like, oh, this stupid watch, I can't set it. My boyfriend gave it to me. And I was like, what's that watch going to do later? Well, this is what the watch does. But they throw the watch, exactly.
A Quiet Place nail.
They throw a Home Alone situation. They throw the watch away. It was a good scene, because it was like, you think the watch is going to get them, and they end up throwing it, and it goes after the watch. Then we hear Juno yelling for them, and they're like, fuck, Juno's going to bring the whole...
And I have to say, I know we were talking about, like, maybe they could collapse the sisters into one character. Yeah. But I felt like, especially in this moment, the stakes are so high because they're sisters.
It's true.
Like,
it's true.
You know, if one of them gets killed, it's just like, damn.
It's really sad, yeah. I mean, I feel like we didn't need it, but in this moment it was good. And but at this point I had figured out who everybody was, and it was okay.
Well, so at this point they're all separated, just trying to be quiet, trying to survive, and they all gonna die. That's it. Yeah. There's just...
But Juno's being dumb and yelling, and this was cold. Rebecca's like, she's gonna bring every one of those things down on her head. And fucking Sam goes, as long as it's not down on my head.
Yeah, like, better her head than mine, yeah.
But, I mean, I feel like Sam's not that invested in any of these people.
Also, it's her fucking fault. They're all in this situation. So anyway, then a creature jumps out and grabs Becca, and I screamed out loud.
It was scary, yeah. And she's fighting with her, and she's like, Sam, run! And Sam runs away. I was like, oh, that's so nice.
I know, defending your sister.
And then I thought she was going to die, but then Juno saves the day. She pickaxes her.
And Juno, like Sarah, they both instantly go into this, like, warrior, primal, just, like, fight or flight, and they are fighting for their lives.
At this point, this was the one time when I wrote down, Juno's a badass. I mean, she is always a badass, but this is the point where I was, like, into Juno
I was like, wow, that morning jog really
paid off.
Yeah, good for you.
Then, so we're back with Sarah.
Oh, my God. And a creature has dragged Beth into the bone den. Yeah. And she's still alive because she has other shit on top of her that Sarah brushes off of her.
It's really fucked up.
And Beth says, don't trust Juno.
She left me. She did this
Find your way out. She did this to me. And she hands Sarah the necklace that Juno was wearing that says, love each day.
So we have it confirmed.
It was from Paul.
Juno was fucking Paul.
Yeah. And Beth says, basically just, like, kill me, please.
Which, yes, is exactly what I would have said. Yes. She doesn't want to stay there and either just bleed out in the dark or get eaten by fucking monsters.
No.
And Sarah is a good friend, and she fucking bashes her head in with a rock, which it was such a hard scene to watch. She's like, please don't ask me to do that. I can't do that. Can you imagine? Rebecca, stop spelunking. I don't want to have to euthanize you, please.
Also, I would not do a good job of smashing someone's head in with a rock. I'd just lay it gently on top of them, and they'd be like, that's great.
Boop, your nose. Like, is that what you need?
Little pebble.
Just a little boop.
Yeah. I'd probably just like lay down next to her and be like, let's do this together.
Exactly. Let's like wait.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Like call
we'll
the
go
creature.
together. Yeah.
Yeah. Here, little
like the
monster.
old couple in Titanic.
Here, Gollum.
Yeah. Be like, where's that watch? Let me get that watch.
Yeah, so that's really sad. So meanwhile, while this is happening, Juno has discovered a way out because the predecessor climbers or spelunkers had come in from another way. So she has found their trail. So she's going to get out. But she's like, I'm not leaving without Sarah. So she's had a moment of conscience and she wants to save Sarah, which is literally the only redeeming shit that she does in the entire movie. But unfortunately, there's a great deal of irony because now we know that Sarah knows that
Sarah
Juno
is now
fucked her
a
over.
woman scorned.
Yeah. And she's not having it.
Nope.
And she gets attacked, Sarah. Meanwhile, while this is... we should talk about what happens to the sisters. Because in short order, Sam, the little medical student, she gets spooked and starts going back across the chasm.
Tomb Raider style.
And a creature drops down like a bat and slits her throat with its claws.
Freaky.
It's really gross. And then she's
hanging
she
there,
kills
which is the
it.
worst.
It's so sad because her sister's like...
watching. That's why sisters.
But even before that, she's like, please come back, baby. Please come back. Yeah, that's why we need the sisters, is for the emotional stakes of that moment. And then very shortly after that, Rebecca gets attacked by another creature and gets her guts ripped out and she dies. So now we only got our two, just like with The Ritual, although this movie did it first, we got our two characters with the most shit to work out are left.
Yep. There's a moment somewhere in there where Sarah is laying still, and a creature has its hand on her head.
It climbs on top of her.
Yeah.
She gets dragged under some gross water by a creature, and she fights it off in the water. These women are badasses. Also, though, these creatures can't be that hard to kill.
That's what I mean. I don't think these creatures are that... These creatures are not adept at hunting smart humans.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're able to kill multiple
and also,
ones at a time.
it doesn't realize that it has his hand on her head.
Right.
Like, I feel like they're just sort of...
It's a dum-dum.
Yeah, but it also reminded me of the time that I was riding the subway and I was having a glorious morning. I was in such a good mood. I was like sitting, smiling, listening to podcasts. And all of a sudden, a man put his hand on my head and like used it as a holding device.
What?
On the subway.
Did he know what he was doing?
Don't know. And I was like, ugh, and like... pulled my head out from under him and was like, excuse me. But he full weight of his body
I wish y'all could see my head right now.
On my head. And I was like, topple the patriarchy.
What?
It's just like, what the fuck? It was so strange.
Well, that man is no better than a Gollum
and then he was like, oh, oops. And I was like, dude, like, my head.
Oh my fucking God.
My head is not the shape of a pole.
At this life. No. There's no way he thought he'd
It was really odd. Just leaned right on my head with an open palm on top of my head.
PSA, never fucking move to New York City is all I have to say.
No, don't go to Denver. God. No, it was great. It was fun. He and I had a good laugh.
Yeah, now you're married.
Yeah. We got froyo later that day. We didn't. No. I went home and washed my hair.
And I bet that's what fucking Sarah did too. She gets stepped on by this creature.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this part's
creatures, all just like very violent,
action,
like women dying,
women killing monsters, all good.
At this point, though, Sarah looks like a crazy, wild cave creature. She's got the crazy bug eyes going. She looks like Carrie at the end of Carrie when she's like
as well.
The whites of her eyes and there's blood all over her body.
And this actress is kind of scary looking. Mm-hmm. No, I mean she's gorgeous, but just she's very able to make herself look freaky. Anyway, so she and Juno Juno's falling off of something. I don't know. She saves Juno like at an opportune moment. Oh, yeah. And then she kind of tests her and she's like, what happened to the others? And Juno's like, Becca and Sam are dead. And she's like, yeah, what about Beth? And she's like, oh yeah, she's dead too. And she's like, yeah, you saw her die. And Juno, at this moment, Juno could have, I think, turned it around if she'd been like, here's what happened. Yeah. But she just goes, yep.
Yep.
And you're like, no.
I like that. Oh yeah, you saw her die?
Yeah. Okay, but anyway, so then they end up, they're going out together, they get to this cavern, there's like a million creatures.
Yeah, I know, and at this point, Juno's like, come on, like, to the creatures. She's like, come at me,
she
bro.
Just wants to
like,
fight
yeah.
I get it. I
get it,
these
too.
creatures lurking.
Yeah.
So they fight.
They fight in the most like primal, animalistic way ever. They're like fingers in the eyes. One of them like bites the jugular out of one of them.
It's really gross, but you never get to see women throw down like this.
No, I love it.
Movie.
Multiple times in the movie, they spit on the bodies of dead creatures, which I was like, yes.
They're toppling the patriarchy of cave monsters. Even though I didn't realize there were lady cave monsters, so I guess not.
Yeah.
But
next time, look for the breasts.
I'm gonna.
So then they fight up all these creatures, and Sarah takes her pick.
Well, they have a moment. Let's just take a moment for their moment.
Take a breath.
Which is they work together to destroy all these monsters. Then they look at each other, breathing hard, and then Juno's like, something's wrong here. Fucking Sarah lets the necklace fall out of her hand, and so Juno knows that she knows what has
she's
gone
holding
down.
a pick and the necklace. She's like, lets that necklace.
And she's like, uh-oh. Then what happens?
Whack! She takes that pick and whacks it into the side of Juno's leg.
Yes.
Incapacitating her, basically. And Juno screams,
right,
drawing the creatures to her.
And then Sarah runs away, and we hear Juno screaming, God, no, help, no, whatever. So we can presume that Juno is being eaten by the creatures.
Yep. Which, kind of stupid, because Juno was helping Sarah survive.
I know.
Like, they were helping each other.
But I think that Sarah is beyond giving a fuck a little bit at this point.
Yeah.
All of her fucking friends are dead except for this bitch.
Yeah. Who's
no friend of hers. Her husband is dead, and her fucking daughter is dead. So it's no good. So she runs, and she's a shaft of light, and she climbs up this, like steep incline covered in bones.
First, she gets knocked unconscious again. Yes. And I was like, this woman gets knocked out about 6 or 7 times in this movie. But she gets knocked out. She wakes up. She, go ahead, runs up this.
She runs up this. And it's a beautiful shot. There's like a shaft of light on this hill of bones that she's climbing up. And she gets out. It is like the end of
the
Carrie.
Living Dead.
The hand comes up. Yeah. And she digs her way out, and she runs to the car, and she hugs the car. She gets in the car, and she starts driving like mad. Pulls over, starts crying. All her fucking friends are dead. And then this semi comes by. You think it's going to hit her. It's very scary. She throws up because, of course, we can't get out of this goddamn movie without a vomit shot. She throws up.
Well, I was also like, she's got at least a concussion.
For sure.
Yeah.
And, she's been, like, swimming around in cave blood and shit. Yeah. And then she turns around in the car, and we see Juno's corpse is sitting there staring at her. And she screams, roll credits. Now. This is not the only version of this ending that exists. Callie, which version did I see on Netflix?
So that is the version you saw, and it is the American version.
That's the American version.
Now, the version I saw when this movie first came out was not the American version, and I think it's because this movie didn't gain popularity in America, I don't think, for a while, or something like that. Anyway, the version I saw, she throws up, she turns back, sees the ghost, and then she wakes up. That is a dream, and she wakes up, and when she had fallen and knocked herself out, she that's exactly what happened. She had knocked herself out, and she is still in the cave. She wakes up again, and she's still in the cave. There is no light anywhere. She's in the darkness, and she kind of lifts herself up onto all fours, and she's looking ahead, and there's just a little glow of light, and you can see that it's basically she's hallucinating her daughter in front of her birthday cake again, and then it just sort of pulls back, and she's stuck in this cave.
Just staring at this
and you hear the sounds of creatures.
Right, and that's the end of the movie.
And that's the end.
Now, which ending do you prefer?
I prefer that version where she wakes up in the cave, and I'll tell you why. I think seeing the ghost of Juno feels like suddenly a different movie to me. Like, there's never been a ghost in this movie. What are we supposed to think? That Juno is now going to haunt her because Sarah killed her or something? Right. Like, there are no ghosts. This isn't a ghost movie.
Well, the daughter is a ghost. I mean, she's not a ghost. She's a hallucination.
A hallucination. So we're supposed to think that Sarah will just
she'll be haunted
is still
by
hallucinating.
Yeah, that was my take on that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that that it's not.
I mean, I just loved I guess it's like, I actually read an article where Roger Ebert was like too ambiguous for Americans that she would still be in the cave. Like, we get it. And I liked that because it was a little ambiguous, or it was just like, you don't know. Is she ever going to get out?
Probably not.
She's not going to get out. Yeah. And I kind of liked that.
I get that. I
liked the false ending too.
I liked the American ending, I have to say, because I liked the idea. And this goes against my review of The Ritual, where I was like, this fucking guy, this poor man now has to live without all his friends, and it's sad. But I was like, wow, she's such a survivor. Yeah. Like, in a way that is primal, in a way that goes beyond any sort of rational reason for staying alive.
Well, so the other thing, and I don't know if this went into the decision making, but there's a sequel.
Right. There is a sequel.
I have seen the sequel.
And she's in the sequel.
She's in it.
Yeah.
I've seen the sequel in its entirety, and I started to watch the sequel again after watching this, just because I wanted to be reminded of what happens at the beginning of it. And she has to get out because that's basically, do you want me to tell you what happens a little bit?
I read the
sequel?
Wikipedia entry, but if you would like to tell our listeners.
So she, basically, it starts with they're looking for the women in Borum Caverns where Becca had said they would be, and they're missing for 48 hours, and the police have set out a search party. And then Sarah emerges and she's in the hospital and they're like, we have to talk to her and figure out where her friends are. And they end up talking to her. And in the most fucked up scenario ever, they make her go back into the cave with them to look for her friends. Because she cannot remember anything. She's like, she can't remember anything that's happened over the last 48 hours. She's blocked it all out. And they're like, well, maybe if you come with us, it'll jog your memory and you can help us find your friends. Because, again, there's no way that they think that there are creatures down there. They just
like
think
they're
missing.
unidentified species of golem monsters.
Yeah, but they also know that she's beat to hell. I think they also think maybe she's killed her friends.
Right.
And so they're treating her very like a suspect. Anyway, so I only watched like the first 10 minutes because I was like, I don't need to see her go back in the cave and
it's stressful.
Fight the creatures again.
Yeah.
And it basically is like the same movie again. And so I didn't watch it, but
so they need that for the sequel. I mean, I the ambiguity makes sense to me. I also kind of like she has to live with the monster that she became in the cave, you know, which is a more interesting thing for me than that she just gets to be with her daughter.
True.
But I think both are valid choices creatively.
Yeah, I like them both.
Do you want to rate the movie?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I haven't even thought about this really. Okay. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars. I love this movie. Here's the thing. I think I'm just noticing with myself. I had a similar feeling when watching The Quiet Place. There was a moment where it switched to a lot of action. Yeah. And that was in the moment where I sort of was like, I'm not that into this. And I felt the same thing here.
The dread kind of drops off.
And I love a dread.
I know.
And so I loved this movie. Kind of. And then even when the creatures came in the beginning, but when it just started to be a murder fest and lots of action and fighting, I didn't love it. But I still give it 4 stars. I think it's a great movie. And I give it 4 ghost faces. I think it's really scary. And I recommend watching it. It's a good one.
I'm going to agree with you on 4 stars. I actually think it's a great movie. I think it's really well put together. It's really fresh. It's really, really expert in terms of the kind of scariness that it creates. I love that it's all ladies. I think that Juno's character felt pretty uneven for me. Like, she's so fucking evil and shitty, and then, but, like, has moments of nobility.
Yeah.
And it was tough
also,
for me to get on board with Juno.
Spoiler alert, is in the sequel.
I know, I saw that, and I was like, no,
yeah.
I don't pass. So that was tough. And then part of my ratings are always just like, did I enjoy watching the movie? Which, even though I think it was a really good movie, I didn't have, because this movie's so stressful, I didn't have a Quiet Place experience where I was just like, I love this, you know, every time I was there. So it's not to say the movie's not good. It just, my experience wasn't a 5-star. I'm going to give it 5 scream face emojis, though. I thought it was very scary. And it didn't trigger me in the way that The Strangers did or anything. Like, because I'm not going to go spelunking because I'm not fucking crazy. Rebecca. But it is really, really realistic in the terror for the first half of the movie. It feels so real and so relatable, even though, again, I would never do it. It's still, like, the feelings of the claustrophobia and the dread. And the monsters are really good, and all of the kills are really satisfying of both the monsters and of the humans. So 5 scream face emojis. This movie is not for the fucking faint of heart at all.
Nope.
Yeah, it's a stressful watch.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, so I think that's where we are with The Descent.
I say watch The Descent.
Definitely.
And maybe even watch The Descent too. Give it a
I
go.
might give it a watch.
They're both on Netflix.
I feel spoiled, though, enough that I don't know if I'm going to watch it, because it is a stressful experience. If we did it for this podcast, I might watch it, but...
I would recommend you don't.
Okay.
But
there you go. There you have it.
Just because I know you have a lot going on and we're watching a lot of movies for this podcast.
A lot going on, you don't need to watch it.
But if you just want to watch another movie, sure.
Okay. There you have it, folks. Anything else
that ambivalent recommendation is how we'll go out.
Yeah, if you want to know what we're watching next week, or you just want to give us recommendations, or you want to know what's up with us, you can follow us on social media at ScreamGirlsPod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email us at screamgirlspodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, email us. let us know what you think.
And if you like this podcast, do us a solid and rate, review, and or subscribe, because it really, really helps in terms of who else gets to see it when it comes up and when people are browsing and algorithms and shit. So do us a favor and do that.
We'd appreciate it.
Yeah, because then we can keep we're going to keep doing it regardless. But it would be nice if more people would listen to it.
Yeah, and thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.